I don't usually review recent games, but when I do, I review. Alright. It's small radios, big televisions for PlayStation 4. You all know me. I love me some audio cassettes. Sure, they're not very durable, and the sound quality is vastly inferior to CDs and vinyl, but even so, there's a certain, nostalgia quality to them that I just don't get from other mediums. I think I might have said that before, actually. But anyway, I'm sure you didn't come here to hear me wax nostalgic about another dead analog media format. I've already done that. Twice. No. You came here to hear me talk about this. The mighty PlayStation 4. Yeah, I'm a PlayStation fanboy for life, and as such, I had to pick up the PlayStation 4 at launch. As of this writing, I have exactly 19 games for this system and counting. That is actually more than any other console in my collection. More even than my favorite console ever, the PlayStation 2, which is tied only with my PlayStation and my PlayStation Vita at 13 games each. However, those 19 are only the physical games. I also have a bunch of digital games, which I haven't even counted yet. Ever since the PlayStation 4 launched way back in 2013, I knew I had to get my hands on one. Not just for the physical games, but also the indie games, which would probably never see a physical release. Unless the friendly folks at Limited Run Games got a hold of them, of which were few and far between, but I digress. See, around the time of the PlayStation 4's release, Sony announced at E3 2013 a partnership with a bunch of indie developers, like Oddworld Inhabitants, Switchblade Monkeys, 17-Bit Games, Tribute Games, and a few others. So, needless to say, Sony had the backs of independent game developers. A year or two later, a developer by the name of Owen Deary announced that he was creating a game for PC and PlayStation 4 called Small Radios, Big Televisions, a game that was about, quote, exploring digital places stored in analog media. Did somebody say analog media? Yes, Small Radios, Big Televisions is indeed about exploring digital places stored in analog media. But there's more to it than that. However, you wouldn't know it, judging from the trailers. When you play the game itself... Actually, there really isn't a whole lot more to it than that. It's basically a puzzle-solving game. You play the game from a first-person perspective, exploring factories and collecting audio cassettes. Yeah, I bet you were wondering when I would get back to those, weren't you? When you find an audio cassette, you stick it in a tape recorder, play it, and then are taken to another place. Sometimes it's a road, sometimes it's a snowy mountain, but always there is an objective once there. There are these green orbs which you must collect in order to unlock different doors in the factories. Some of the unlocked doors will take you outside of the factory from which you can go to another door. Other times, the unlocked door will take you to the next factory. There are 3 audio cassettes you need to collect in each factory. In some rooms, there are these wheelie, grindy things which you can put the cassettes into. After watching them grind and glitch out the screen, you can put the cassettes into your cassette player again, and the cassette player will take you to the same place, but the place will be somewhat distorted. Sometimes you have to collect more green orbs to unlock more doors, but in any case, once you have done all that, you progress to the next level. As you progress, you find that there was some kind of experiment going on with the tapes, like some kind of virtual reality experiment. It drove some of the subjects crazy. But I won't spoil the rest of the story for you, because there's really very little of it to spoil. In fact, I may have just spoiled it after all. The graphics in the game are pretty good looking. I've always had a soft spot for low poly graphics, being that I grew up playing the Nintendo 64 and such. So apart from the whole digital places and analog media shtick, the way the game looked was another thing that appealed to me. Some indie game developers use a pixel graphic art style for their games, and while I have no problem with pixel graphics, the market has become so oversaturated with them, and it's gotten to the point where you really can't tell the diamonds in the rough from the garbage. Because for every Hotline Miami or Retro City Rampage, there's a game that's not Hotline Miami or Retro City Rampage. And that's terrible. This is just one of the things that makes a game like Small Radio's Big Televisions so fresh and exciting to me. Another thing being the music. It's so atmospheric and perfectly captures the mood that the game is going for. It was actually composed by Owen Deary himself. I have the soundtrack on my iPod. It's available on Bandcamp. It kind of reminds me of all those soundtracks that Popol Vuh composed for Werner Herzog's movies with Klaus Kinski in the 1970s. And, being a Herzog, Kinski, Popol Vuh fan myself, I wholeheartedly approve. If I had one gripe, it would be that the controls for the PlayStation 4 version are a little too sensitive. And for someone with shaky hands like me, that can be kind of frustrating. Luckily, you can hold everything still while you move the cursor around by pressing R2. That helps a great deal, but it still doesn't change the fact that I have shaky hands. Now, something that might make this whole thing a little bit easier to play on consoles is if it were virtual reality compatible. Seriously, Small Radio's Big Televisions seems to be tailor-made for VR. First-person perspective? Check. Cursor? Check. Point-and-click interface? Check. Heck, there's even the virtual reality aspect woven into the story. Why isn't this a thing? Well, I reached out to Owen Deary on Twitter, and he confirmed that he experimented with VR, but ultimately he didn't ship out any of it. And this being a 2-year-old game, it's doubtful that will happen anytime soon. But it's alright. The game's still good, and I like it. Well, that was Small Radio's Big Televisions, and this is Space Humor, crossing his fingers for PlayStation VR, Doom VFR, and of course, to not suck. Adios.